All right, looks like I'm live and we'll see if anybody shows up. And if not, I'll still share the video just because I have some stuff that I think will help you if you are a tutor who's tutoring online, you're wanting to learn how to tutor online, or you're an educator and you're like, oh, I need some extra income, and I'm going to figure this out, right? Okay, so if this is the first time that you've met me, let me give you a little introduction to myself. My name is Sheryl Uehling, and I am the owner of a very small tutoring business called Tutoring with Sheryl, where I help struggling readers and writers overcome their reading and writing problems. And I do that well, it's not a quick fix, okay? But I do it very strategically to meet the needs of each one of my students. And yeah, so I work online, 100% online. I used to go to people's houses, drive all over, and then I just found that that really wasn't something that I could continue to do. So I moved online a few years ago, and I really have not looked back, all from the comfort of my little office here. And so this is where I work. And I work about, 10 to 12 hours a week with my tutoring, and I make a really good income doing that. And I think the secret is just learning how to do it, because it's not something that you're just going to pick up right away. Just like any job, you kind of have to train yourself. And so, along with being the owner of Tutoring with Cheryl, I also coach educators so that they learn how to do what I can do and they can actually pay their bills. Let's face it, educators don't make enough money. And so you either have to have a side gig, or hopefully you're married to somebody who can like make up the difference in, your monthly income, or you do things like this to earn extra money and then still do what you love doing. You love serving students and their families, and that's what I love to do. I love to help kids learn to read and write. And of course, their spelling improves along the way. I also have a Facebook group called the Tech Hub for Tutors, and I invite you to go over to Facebook and search us out, because that is the place where you can come and learn right along with other educators. You can learn more about just running your business. And we don't get into a lot of the like, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just an educator sharing my personal experiences. So that's what I do. I share my personal experiences. And I'm really going to leave all of that other stuff up to you to do your own investigation on. Are you going to have an LLC? Are you going to, have insurance, which you should have insurance? Are you going to, um, get some accounting advice from an accountant? Those are things that really you have to do as a business owner. So I'm just going to say that I'm just here to kind of help you work through the technology issues that you might have as an educator when you first get started. And before I dive into what some of those problems are, I want to just kind of reflect back to when I first started tutoring. And I did. I worked for, my very first experience was helping my nieces during COVID with their math and their reading. And then I just found that that was a lot of fun and I wanted to keep going. And so then I worked for a major company here in the United States, was not getting paid enough. I was only getting paid $15 an hour. I'm not willing to work for that much with my expertise and my ability to help kids really bridge the gap in their reading and writing. So I charge more than that now, but $15 an hour is where I started out. And I was working for another company, and I did that for the first 2 years. And then I decided to branch out and make my own business. And so, what I'm going to just encourage you guys to do is just follow along with other educators who've left the classroom, find out what they're doing, how they're making ends meet, and you can grow business. You could do a homegrown business. And if you want to have a storefront and you want to, pay rent and have a building and a space and use paper products and all that, you can totally do that. And when I first started tutoring, I was going to people's homes, and it worked out great. I felt really connected, and like I was still like that teacher. But what I've kind of learned as, I've had my business going, is I'm not really the teacher anymore. I'm more of the academic coach, and I'm finding where the gaps are for my students, and I'm helping them overcome those gaps, and I'm strategically building out plans for them to do that. So that's just kind of how my business has changed over time. So I no longer drive from house to house. My kids log into a Google Meet. They meet me just like this in a Google Meet, and I share my screen, and I just teach them how to read and write. And it's just so cool to see the transformation that these kids get just by seeing, some of them only see me for 1 hour a week. And then other kids see me for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. Some kids see me for a couple hours a week. I work with homeschoolers. I work with, public school, private school. So I work with a lot of different students. So I'm just going to tell you that it is possible to work with students online and to make a difference and to help them, with whatever problem they have, so that you can teach them how to read, you can teach them how to write, you can teach them their math. If you're a science teacher, you can teach science, you could do whatever you want. And I guess I'm coming from an education background where I have an undergraduate in education and then a master's degree in curriculum instruction and then 32 years of teaching experience. And so it was a very easy thing for me to do. But for a lot of people, it's not so easy to just hop online and just talk, first of all. And then, second of all, when you're in a teaching lesson, because I'm going to talk to you about the four, it's just four tech issues that you might run across. I probably have more than four, but I'm thinking of four right off the top of my head. And there are actual solutions to those. So the very first thing that you might have an issue with is just audio and visual. And right now my lighting isn't that great. It's 6:47 Central Time, so the sun is kind of setting, and so it's not like super great. But like in a tutoring session, I would be sharing my screen, and I would be the little person in the corner, so that wouldn't be so important. And actually, a lot of times in a tutoring session, I turn off our cameras because it's less distracting for the student. But knowing how to run your audio and your camera would be really important, and then finding a headset or something that's comfortable on your head, because if you're going to tutor 3-4 hours at a time, is kind of gets to be a lot on your head. But I have a couple of choices here. I have my Logitech headphones, that just they're a USB cord, and I did that on purpose because sometimes my Bluetooth connection isn't that great. Things will cut in and out. And so I just will change that. So that's one way to solve it. And then I actually bought Blue Parrot. These are trucker headphones. Okay. And actually, truckers don't wear both because that would be illegal. But if you're in the truck with them, you might want these. And these are great for like tuning out everybody around me, but everybody else can still hear probably some of the stuff that's happening here. It is supposed to be a noise reduction, but they might still be able to hear. And I don't know if I've got my little styrofoam or not styrofoam. I have oh, here it is. You can get one of these to kind of muffle things and plop that on there as well, and that will just kind of reduce noise. So, but these were expensive. This set was like $27. This set was like 250. So, and these have to be charged. So if they're not charged, they won't work. But the reason I don't use them is because honestly, with my computer, I don't think they work that great. But with my Samsung tablet, they do really, really well. So I'm just going to tell you that you have to find what's going to work best for you. And then knowing how to, like I said, turn the volume up, turn the volume down, record yourself a few times, listen to how you sound. I happen to speak really loudly all the time, and then I notice that when I do recordings, I'm really speaking too loudly. Tone it down a little bit. But I always think, oh, if I speak louder, they'll pay attention, right? That's not always the case. So yeah, can you see me? Wave if you can see me. That kind of stuff. Those are the things that you have to learn how to do. Screen sharing is something that if you're going to be an online tutor, you have to learn how to master. So if you are going to be using Zoom, or if you're going to be using Google Meet, or maybe you're just going to use Messenger, whatever it is that you're going to use, you need to learn how to do that. And one of the things that I did when I first started tutoring on my own off of the platform that had hired me, because I decided $15 an hour was not enough, was that I had to learn how to screen share. And that didn't come very easily for me because I had to figure out, was I going to share a PDF? Was I going to use slides? Was I going to use a document? How was I going to do all this? Okay, so I think you have to kind of think through, what is that going to look like for you? And so just becoming confident with that, I think, is one of the things. So I called my sister, who is also an educator, and I said, hey, can you help me work through this? And it was really great because then she also was working through the same thing, because she was moving into being an adjunct professor, and at the time they were working online. And so we actually both really worked together. And I think that was the best thing that we were able to do. If you are tuning in, tell me where you're tuning in from. Let me know if you have any questions about online tutoring. And then make sure that you jump over to the Facebook group. Not right now, but go over there to the Tech Hub for Tutors and join that as well, because we would love to continue supporting you, and you can learn more about the Tech Hub for Tutors there. But screen sharing is definitely something that you guys want to learn how to do. It's pretty tricky. Like if you're going to share, let's say, a Get Epic book, that's going to look different than if you're going to be sharing a link that the kids have to open up. And so you have to be able to coach your kids through that. So, one of the things that I do for my parents to help it easier for them to work with me as a reading, writing, and spelling tutor is I literally send all of my new parents out some videos that I have crafted and created, and I share that. And so they go through the process of learning how to do that themselves. And then make sure that you have a stable internet connection. And so, right outside my door, plugged into the hallway, I've got a booster over there. And so, that booster allows me to have a pretty clear signal. I have to tell you that. My phone is old enough. I have an old Samsung phone, and it no longer wants to connect to Wi-Fi. I actually just need to go and get a new one. I yeah, I don't know. It's just old enough. It's about 5 years old, so it's time for me to upgrade. Clearly, um, but being able to know how to connect things through your Bluetooth, if you're on your phone, if you're on your tablet, if you're on your computer, being able to do that quickly, so that in the event that you're at a new location, let's say you're at a Starbucks. I don't recommend tutoring from coffee shops if you're going to do it online. There's too much background. Uh, Noise, but in a quiet space in your house, like an office like I'm at, or being in a bedroom somewhere. But make sure, remember, people can see what's behind you. So if you don't want them to see what's behind you, knowing how to run your filters so that they can't see, maybe your bedroom's a mess, and we don't need to see your bedroom anyway. Put that stuff in the background, like put something behind you so that they can't see it. And as a matter of fact, I just was recording the same chat on my YouTube page at Tech Tuner. I'm sorry, at the Tech Cover Tutors. And it was so funny because I was messing with the filters, and then I couldn't figure out how to get the filter off. So make sure that you know how to do that. But I just thought it was really funny. So you can see that after I get it uploaded. You'll have to go over there and check it out. And then also something else that I see a lot of tutors struggle with is resources. And they come to me and they want me to give them all of the resources. And what I'm going to say is that you don't want to rely on your coach to necessarily find all the resources, because you don't necessarily the coach doesn't necessarily know your teaching style. He or she doesn't know, or they don't know your um, perfect client necessarily. And so you want to advocate for yourself and find your own resources for teaching online. And I think that's one of the really important things, that we just have to get used to just going out and sourcing our own materials. And one thing that I've been recently doing that's been so helpful to my students is I've been using AI inside of Canva Create. So you just go into Canva and you go in, I think it's Canva AI, and then there's a little button and it will say something like create something. So I might take a text that my students are practicing and put it in there and say, create a slideshow using this text, and use images that feature whatever, and then whatever the characters are. And then it takes a little bit, but it will think about it, and then it will create these stories. And so then I share these stories with my families, and I say, can you please have the kids practice this? In the next couple of lessons, I'm going to have them read it to me. And tonight, I just had a delightful experience where one of my students, who is very, very reluctant reader, but he's an early reader, but he's very reluctant, um, had practiced, and he got on tonight and he read so nicely, and I videotaped that for the family and I sent it to him, and of course they were just delighted to see his progress. And he had his first reading test, I think that was almost 2 weeks ago, and he got an A on it. And he's like, Cheryl, I got an A. He was so excited, and I was so excited for him. And he's doing those little things to help support your readers, your writers, your math students, whatever it is that you're tutoring. But learning how to use AI is also something I think think we need to use it responsibly. Like I tell my families, this is the text from whatever the resource is. I created this using Canva AI. That's why maybe all the pictures look a little bit differently, but it's really the kids love it. But I'm giving credit where credit is due. And so if you're starting to use some of those things in your tutoring business or with your students as an educator, make sure that you're stating where they're coming from, because I do think at some point the AI police are going to start to come out and say, hey, that's copyrighted information. Like I didn't actually create that. That was created by this machine. So I have to say where it came from, right? I have to state this is how I made it. This is where you can find it, all of that. And so what I've been talking about, I'm just going to kind of recycle through this information. So if I'm posting this later, you can probably stop watching it later on because I will be sharing it out. But I've been sharing about different things, different struggles that you might have if you're just becoming an online tutor. And I was in the classroom for a lot of years. I left the classroom. I started working with my nieces. Then I worked for a company, and then I went out on my own. And so this is just my journey as how I've kind of gone through this. And so I was just talking about different things that can come up in your tutoring that if you're going to tutor online, you need to be able to do. So you want to be able to know how to work your audio and your camera. And you want to have, and honestly, this camera that you're viewing me on right now is a Dell computer. Well, it's a Dell screen, extra screen. I don't even know the exact model, but it's about 20, 22 inches. I don't know. I'm just guessing. And I just plugged it in through USB to my Lenovo computer. And I have a Ryzen 5000 series with AMD Radeon graphics, and it works out well for me. So that's the tech part. I have my Logitech headphones that are literally USB and plug in so that I don't have any issues with Bluetooth connection. I do have Bluetooth Blue Parrot headphones that I use that I bought at a truck stop, actually at the world's largest truck stop in Iowa. And they work really well, but I actually don't like to use them for tutoring. They have a little bit different tone to them, but they work really well if I want to pair them with my phone and tutor from my phone or tutor from my Samsung tablet. So that works really well. But knowing how to run those and making sure that you can practice that, knowing how to screen share. You want to know how to share your screen when you're tutoring. You want to practice with things that are PDFs, are slides, documents, and then whatever you're going to be tutoring on. I actually use Google Meet because I have the Google workspace account. Actually, I think updated that today or tomorrow somewhere. And it's $99 for the whole year, but for the income that I make for $99 for the whole year, that's nothing. And it's just something that I write off. So I think that's something that, I just pay for. And so if you have not joined the Tech Hub for Tutors Facebook page and you are a tutor, please join us so that you can learn more about tutoring online, because it is something that I think is really helpful for people. And then making sure that you have a solid internet connection. My phone doesn't do very well when I do TikTok lives, but I can run it from my computer, and it goes pretty well. And that's because my router is right outside the door. And then making sure that you know your resources. And as an online tutor, you need to have resources. Holding up books are great. Like I can hold up a book, but is that really the best quality that I can provide for my students? So creating resources or having subscriptions to things, I think, are really important to level up your tutoring business. Yeah, I could get a plug-in camera, a document camera, and I almost bought one. And then I thought, is that really what I want to have if I'm going to tutor on the go and want to travel? Then I'm going to have to take all of that with me. I don't want that. As a matter of fact, when I travel, I've got a pair of JLab headphones that I just Bluetooth to my computer at that point, and I don't take these with me. And that's when I just go ahead and use that, because I'm usually at a family member's house or in a quiet hotel room where that's going to work. And so you really have to kind of plan this out. If you want to be an online tutor, you have to figure out what are the tools that you're going to use to make online tutoring work for you. So I'm actually going to wrap this conversation up. I want to encourage you to head over to Facebook to the Tech Hub for Tutors and join us there, and you can learn more about the membership and how to grow your tutoring business one student at a time. Bye. Bye-bye.